You have proven worthy to take my place as the new protector of
Star Wars.
once it is restored. Lord,
Palpatine.
the sands of time are now yours to shape. It falls upon you to architect a new history.
Then together, let us begin.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and I am recognizing that 2 to 3 of my videos every day are kind of on the same normal topic or the same running stories, which some people appreciate, but also I'm aware and I want to inject a little variety. And it's been a while since I've covered Star Wars, and apparently there is a rumor that Star Wars is going to reset and essentially erase The Last Jedi. The modern sequels, effectively erasing The Last Jedi. Now, this rumor comes from Overlord DVD, which a lot of people are dismissing out of hand because he's just a YouTuber. But remember that Overlord DVD was right about several parts of The Rise of Skywalker, major plot points correct. He's more reliable than, say, We've Got This Covered or Cosmic Book News, but nonetheless, this article has been making the rounds, this theory, and people are mad. This is via Cosmic Book News, so again, consider the source. Disney resetting Star Wars, erasing Last Jedi. But a new rumor has hit the net that some sort of Disney Star Wars reset is in the works, that we'll see The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and Skywalker basically erased. The rumor comes from the future ruler of the Earth, Overlord DVD, who recently offered Star Wars civil battle is happening at Lucasfilm between Kathleen Kennedy and Jon Favreau. Doomcock also previously provided those Skywalker spoilers, and prior to Marvel Studios, a new director and writing team on the Captain Marvel sequel said there were all kinds of problems at Marvel with Brie Larson and Captain Marvel. Interestingly, though, Feige is going with Elizabeth Olsen and Scarlet Witch. Getting back to the rumor, he says that there's a place, they are in place to save the Star Wars franchise, which involves the Abrams and Rian Johnson trilogy getting nullified. It's claimed that the Disney Star Wars trilogy will be erased using the concept that was recently made canon in the Star Wars Rebel animated series. Now, this is the Force Veil. Essentially, it's an out to give them time travel, in essence. I'm not sure that, we've seen Marvel use this plenty of times with the alternate universes, which is essentially what the veil of the Force is. But anyway, it goes on. Let's get into it. In season 4, episode 13, A World Between Worlds, the concept of the veil of the Force introduced a mystical dimension in the Force that connects all time and space. His Overlord DVD goes on to say, I've received confirmation from 2 additional sources claiming that this is spot on, that indeed Lucasfilm realizes they have a massive problem on their hands, that the Star Wars franchise is all but dead, and despite Kathleen Kennedy's hatred for the idea, Lucasfilm is preparing to render the sequel's trilogy null and void. I don't believe that. That doesn't mean he's not right about, changing the canon or whatever, but first of all, Star Wars is nowhere near dead. It's not dead at all. Many of my viewers, we inhabit a part of the internet that is disillusioned with the modern day Star Wars franchise. But make no mistake about it, normies far outweigh us. Normies are what keep mediocre Marvel movies crossing the $1 billion mark. Look, Marvel movies are now so predictable and formulaic that you can almost predict exactly what's going to happen in every one of them. Yet people continue to go see them because they've got nothing better to do on the weekends. We're not going to know what the box office looks like with this new world we're living in once theaters reopen, but nonetheless, goes on to say, it is said that events from The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Skywalker will be removed from canon. No way that's happening. Isolated in their own alternate timeline and regarded as Elseworlds, like installments under the label Star Wars Legends. Now, I don't want to say never, but in order for this to happen, what has to happen first is Disney, who paid $1 billion for the franchise, has to admit failure. That's not going to happen. Kathleen Kennedy has to admit failure. That's not going to happen. Could they write some liner note nullifying the canon somewhere down the road? Maybe. Look, when I say that's never going to happen, I mean, like, okay, there's like a 1% chance. Never say never. But even more unlikely than them erasing canon is the idea that Disney would admit that they messed it up. He continues, by noting the details that can't be verified, but say they may be proof of happening in Rise of Skywalker, more of that below. It's further noted that the plans are not set in place, as Kathleen Kennedy is said to hate the idea and is said to be doing everything she can to crush it. Quote, if the plan comes to pass, everything that Kathleen Kennedy did with the sequel trilogy will be destroyed, tossed out, and declared obsolete. And it is for that reason that I find it extremely unlikely that this would happen. When Overlord DVD released, and by the way, this isn't too, I love his content, and I rely, his sources have been good in the past. I'm almost like approaching this like, I don't even want to believe it could happen because it would be so good. But the end of the day, and then the article does kind of say that they'll use the mirrors. Okay, so Emperor Palpatine has a room in the second Death Star called the Room of Mirrors. Mirrors were created by the Emperor prior to the Death Star through the dark side using ancient Sith rituals. These mirrors linked to the veil of the Force served many purposes. Using them, Palpatine could manipulate the Force in many ways to further his aims. For example, the use of the mirrors allowed Palpatine to cloud the Jedi to conceal himself and dark apprentices from the Jedi and Force sensitives that followed their fall. Using the mirrors allowed Palpatine to access the awesome powers of the Veil of the Force. They were indispensable tools that allowed him to rise to the pinnacle of his ultimate power. It was this conceit that explains how Palpatine survived Darth Vader throwing him down the shaft in the throne room of the Death Star. In desperation as he fell, Palpatine opened a portal to the Veil of the Force and entered it. This explains why Palpatine is in such damaged state in Rise of the Skywalker, as transporting himself into the Veil without the aid of the mirrors drained him and damaged him severely. I mean, look, if this is just fan fiction, I'd read it. I'd get down with this story. He goes on to explain that the Emperor created a second set of mirrors on Exegol that allowed him to escape where he plotted the rise of the Empire. Regardless of how things will be reset, it's explained that all one has to do is go into the Veil of Mirrors and wait for Palpatine to enter, as the Veil is a, quote, mystical dimension where all times collide, which will cause the Disney Star Wars trilogy to consign to its own alternate timeline forever. As Palpatine enters the Veil, he never goes back to Exegol. I suppose that means that Rey was never born, right? No Disney sequel trilogy. Han doesn't walk stupidly into a lightsaber. Leia doesn't fly like Mary Poppins through space. Luke has nothing to run away from and consumes no green milk. And I'm informed that there will be no Amazing Wonder Rey, as she was born after the Emperor's death, says Overlord, who notes the particulars that are still getting worked on, but that the plan will retcon sequel trilogy out of our misery and restore freedom to the George Lucas galaxy. I mean, it's a great story. So much so you see even Newsweek picking up saying, the Disney Star Wars reset rumors are completely insane. Well, remember when they said all this stuff? These same articles existed in a world where we had all of the Rise of the Skywalker leaks that ended up being completely true. This is via Emma Nolan and Newsweek. A new Star Wars rumor is doing the rounds, which suggests Disney is planning to effectively erase a big chunk of the sci-fi franchise canon. The rumor started over on YouTube by Overlord DVD. Oh, they don't even link to his channel. That's disrespect. Who has speculated that episodes 7, 8, and 9, The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker will essentially be deleted. There are no truth to these rumors, but the outlandish theories haven't stopped Star Wars fans from speculating wildly. Well, how do you know it's not true? You don't know. It's important enough. It garnered enough interest that you had to tweet about it, or that you had to write this article debunking it. You see, rumor says Star Wars is resetting. You see this really, why would they erase two of the best Star Wars movies of all time? If they're going to erase stuff, wouldn't they have done away with the two worst movies, The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clone? Yikes. I'm sorry, but if Disney erases 3 Star Wars, I'm literally ending it all. I will find a cliff. That sounds like a Reylo to me. Of course, Lamau, this will never happen. They'll never erase their trilogy. You're reaching, and maybe he is. But maybe he isn't. Maybe there's some truth to it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in the Star Wars universe right now. In fact, look at what's going on with Galaxy's Edge. It will keep Oga's Cantina closed when the Disney parks first reopen. Guests at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge will have to skip out on the Cantina when Disney parks first reopens. By the way, that's one of the only reasons I would go. That's a huge L. You know, keeping that closed, really, really disappointing. They also talk about, here's what happened to the canceled the Making of Star Wars The Force Awakens book. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, there was going to be a coffee book table called The Making of Star Wars The Force Awakens, and then the book was canceled. So what happens? J.W. Rinzler, a writer who's also responsible for several behind-the-scenes books about the world of Star Wars, and the writer who is writing The Force Awakens has a theory. J.W., author and editor of Lucas Licensing Book Division, says the writer of the books, The Art of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, The Making of Star Wars, Revenge of the Sith, oh my god. I knew when I started writing it that it would be canceled, the author said in the past. There were a lot of things that we know that were known to the public that I think Disney and Kathleen Kennedy just didn't want to rehash. In a new lengthy Q&A video, Rinzler opens up a little more about the reason behind the cancellation, or at least what he assumes to be the reason. In his opinion, the book was canceled due to the control issues. Namely, when the details of the production were laid out in the book, it made it look as if the making of The Force Awakens was riddled with problems. But as Rinzler added, the majority of the huge Hollywood movies encounter problems during production. However, it seems the powers that be behind the book preferred not to draw attention to those problems. Again, this is Rinzler's opinion. He even says it's a guess on his part, but it most certainly makes sense. Well, we wouldn't want to have anybody look bad, and that's kind of the way Disney goes. Nice guy Rian Johnson has nice things to say about the Star Wars prequel. I mean, Lucas made a gorgeous 7-hour-long movie for children about how entitlement and fear of loss turns good people into fascists, and did it while spearheading nearly every technical sea change in modern filmmaking of the past 30 years. The second part's good. Goes on to say, like I said, nice guy. And this is a good defense of the prequels, and I still think the plotting, dialogue, and, well, almost everything else about those 3 films is a mess. Well, I don't know. It's the prequels. What can you say? They weren't great. But that's kind of what make them what they are. I wouldn't want to have a world without Jar Jar Binks, because it's one of those things that you just remember about being a Star Wars fan. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please remember to leave a thumbs up on it, a comment down below. And if you're new to the channel and you haven't yet subscribed, I hope today will be the day that I earn that subscription. There's a little red button down below. Go ahead and click that so you can get notified each and every time I upload. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.